Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're well on this fantastic, frisky, thirsties from Thursday, and today is Friday, so that was wrong. Anyway, you're looking absolutely amazing, by the way. I hope you are having a fantastic Friday, and if you're just waking up, I hope that your Friday will be fantastic. If you're in the future, like the space people from Australia, I hope that you had a good Friday and Saturday's good. And if you can tell me anything about that so I know what to look forward to or what to avoid, that would be great. Anyway, less of this insanity. Let's get straight on to the meat and potatoes, as there has been some people who have reached out to me and they have said, look, what do you think to this? Rachel slipped up. She knows, she knows the Mafia. Knows the Mafia. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about that Rachel, Brad's mum, done a live stream, and she was asked a question about Ayub Qasim, about knowing him, and she kind of didn't give a straight answer. It was almost like, yeah, I know him. No, I don't know him. I know, do you know what I mean? I haven't known him for a long time, and that's kind of now meant that sparked new theories that she has Mafia connections. And look, I think this is like something that I said before, right? And I said about people throw the word Mafia around very, very quickly. It's almost like in the Idaho 4 case when we hear the word cartel. When you say Mafia, it throws up an image in your head. You know, if I hear Mafia, I think of Scarface. I think of Don Corleone. That sort of voice. Do you know what I mean? I think of these sort of things, and people almost, well, that's insane. And I think it's dangerous to start throwing certain words, certain terminology around when you're on a hunt for justice of a case like this. Because equally, we have to, let's just take a breather and think to ourselves, look, something could have happened to Jay that is the story that we've heard. But the downside of that does mean that there were still failings. There were still people who, it's like they don't have an obligation to Jay, but there is a moral obligation to Jay. And there is a lesson to be learned in that about how people should do better. And we can go down that route. But the elements around the Jay Slater case, how he apparently just went to walk off on his own, which seems massively out of character, something that Jay wouldn't do. We've also seen, again, we've seen it time and time again, Warren Slater looking across this vast sort of plain of mountains, and just, you think to yourself, where do you even get started with that? Where would a 19-year-old from Oswald Whistle look at that and think, right, I know what I'm doing? It just doesn't seem probable. Doesn't seem probable that someone who'd been out on the piss, on a bender, phone's knackered, need food, you know, that mindset that is probably on a bit of a come down, bit of a hangover, and they decide to do this. They don't go hand in hand. And certainly from my own personal experience, that just seems nightmarish and insane to even think that would be contemplated. But with respect of people turning around and saying that this small snippet from a live stream is indicative of Brad's mum having Mafia connections, I think is a stretch. And it's almost, again, like in video one earlier, I said that there is such a desire for content creators to get higher views that they push things out in a certain way that drowns out the real, what needs to be looked at. Like, I'll give you another scenario. We talk about Jay Slater's bag. Now, I have seen countless comments that say, look, nobody has a black bag when they go abroad, only the drug pushers, right? Do you know what this is? This is a leather man bag, right? Leather man bag. Hugo Boss is. And it's real, not fucking looky one. But that is a leather black man bag. Do you think I wear that in the UK? No, do I? Absolute fuckers like. Would I be walking around the UK with that bag? No, this bag was specifically bought for when I'm not in the UK, when I go to places. Now, this was hanging over me, draped over me beautifully when I was in Alicante earlier this year. Do you think I was out there selling stuff of a nefarious nature? No, this had my phone in it. It had a Whoop charger. It had a vape in there, because I'm a vapor. It had deodorant in there, like a travel spray, so I always smell beautiful. And it had the room key for the hotel. The point being, when you're on holiday, you're generally cruising around a pool. You might be cruising around in shorts. So you're limited to what pockets you have. And if you have got to carry a vape, you have got to carry your phone, you have got to carry your wallet. Yeah, that was also in there, wallet. And cash and bits and pieces. You've got two choices. You either have a bag that flips over you, so you've got everything in that, so you can put that down, jump in the pool, whatever. Or you've got to have loads of stuff in your pocket, in your shorts pocket. And then every time you want to get in the pool or whatever, or do something, you've got to take them all out of your pocket and lay them out. And then you've got to put them all back in your bag, mate. So for anybody who's in comments saying the only people who have a man bag on holiday are drug pushers, you're fucking insane. You're insane. Now, what I will say is, look, what you're correct in is equally drug pushers are likely to have a bag. But also, they're likely not to have one. Because bags get searched. So a lot of the time, they hide them in other parts of the body, like in the shoes, like in their socks, like even up their backsides. So if they get frisks or searched, then they're not found on them. They'll be under the inner sole of their shoe. I have spoken to people who have been around this sort of thing. So thinking that just because someone has a bag on them, that is indicative of being that. If you think that that's correct, then sadly you're wrong. You're just wrong, and that is not indicative of anything. You can't look at Jay Slater with a bag over him and automatically label him a drug dealer. Okay? Now, I'm not saying he wasn't one, because I don't know. What I'm saying is that specific situation doesn't mean that he is. It doesn't mean that he is. So we have to get real. We have to look at the information that's out there. The one thing that I do find that is quite alarming is the fact that it was stated that Jay Slater was potentially found earlier. His body was found earlier. And when we was told that he was found, wasn't in fact when he was found. I feel that there is some weight to that. I feel that is something that has to be looked into, and some people have to answer some questions there. Now, some people have turned around and said that Luggy and Chris Tenerife potentially found Jay earlier. I don't know the truth behind that, and I'm not going to push that out as fact, because we simply don't know. All I do know is that the Jay Slater case is being pushed and packaged to us in one way, and I don't fully trust that pushed and packaged version of events. I don't because of the aforementioned reasons. My own personal experience and feeling that, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. Jay, from what we hear from his family, he wouldn't have done it either. It's not something that he would have likely done, unless he was forced to. Unless he felt that he had no choice. And these are the things that I'm talking about. I think that somewhere in the story, there is a truth. But we are getting so fixated on the torture videos, the narcotics element, the Mafia connections, that we're losing focus of the true story that lays in there somewhere. And don't get me wrong, any of these stories could be right. I'm not saying that I know. But just be careful not to get blinded by the lights. Blinded by the lights. Dizzy new heights. I'll catch you all possibly later in video 3, if not tomorrow. Love you all. Mwah.